Hey there berries, welcome to my level 90 to 100 Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail guide, getting you up from level 90 all the way up to 100 regardless of your playtime. If you only got a little bit of time to play, I would tell you how you can spend the most amount of time efficiently in terms of getting your professions up to 90 to 100. If you have a little bit more time, then you have a few more extra avenues to go through if you want to try and get those professions up to 100 as quickly as possible. I'd say for me, it took me around about 15 hours of playtime in order to get all of those crafters and the 2 gatherers up to level 100, which I think is not too bad. And I'll teach you my methods of how I got up to 100. In this video, we're going to be talking about the absolute essentials at the very beginning, and then we're going to be drifting off into the things that, the mix of things that I did in order to hit 100. And you should be able to use a few, if not all of the methods in order to hit 100. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the absolute musts. There's a few absolute musts, and we're going to be first talking about the buffs, because buffs are obviously mandatory. I'm going to very briefly go over the buffs that you're going to be looking for this. So ideally you're in a growing company, and if you don't have a squadron manual, which is basically the Squadron Survivor Manual. This one gives, for example, 20% gathering XP for 2 hours. There's also a crafting equivalent. Luckily, I had these ready for Dawntrail. If you don't have access to squadrons or something like that, then please beg your FC leader to pop on a helping hand buff from the actions from your FC, which the crafting one gives 10%. So essential that this is popped in order to basically save a lot of extra gil. So if you're thinking at 10% across the board, across all of the professions, and you can do for gathering as well, it will save a lot of time. We're talking here like hours and lots of millions of gil saved potentially. Mandatory, obviously, food buffs as well, very helpful. I personally was solely using Jinga Curry throughout the entire thing, and a Jinga Brahini. Very good buff still going into Dawntrail, and I was using that most of the time. The Jinga Brahini, the crafting one, was pretty helpful actually for crafts going into level 95 plus. So I'd highly recommend making sure that you have some form of crafting buff. Doesn't have to be Jinga Brahini. You can probably craft some other food buffs if you want to. Some basic Dawntrail ones as well will be access to you, and then we'll give you some culinary XP too. Gathering food buff honestly wasn't super mandatory. Maybe if you didn't already have indicators gear going into it that was like decently melded, maybe if you're running on like blue script gear still from Endwalker, then getting something like a strong food buff would be nice. If you already had like good indicators gear with maybe like a relic main hand, then you can probably get away with not having a super strong food buff. Just run something a little bit basic just to get the 3% XP buff essentially. So there's one other buff that you can get as well, which I would say is pretty much mandatory. It did help a lot and save a lot of time, and that is with script. So if you go to script exchange, there's one for both gatherers and crafters. If you go into the window here, so we've got gatherers, script, regional folklore, materials, and miscellaneous. And then if you go into music, furnishings, and miscellaneous again under purple script, I would advise you to pick up about 10 to 20 of the revised survival manuals. Just make sure you pick up the right one. The one below it has a little bit less XP and they're the same price. Make sure you get the revised ones. Basically every time you're hitting a node with the survival ones, you'll get a chunk of decent XP. There'll be another buff on the top right hand corner to indicate it lasts like a really long time, like 18 hours I think. Yeah, 18 hours, but it will wear off pretty quickly. You'll be chugging these like a lot, but the XP is absolutely worth it. So you probably want to pick up 10 to 20 of these at least. The same also for the crafting. So crafting, music, furnishings, miscellaneous, and then going into revised engineering manual, same XP a set amount, but you'll be going through, I probably went through about 25 of these I think in the end, the revised engineering manuals. So super worth it for, what is that, around about 750 purple script. So you'll be spending about just over 1000 purple script on crafting and gathering in order to get the most out of these extra buffs. So those are all the buffs that you're looking at in terms of getting the most time efficiency. Now there's some dailies and some weeklies that I want you to do every single day if you're able to. Even if you're progressing through early stages of MSQ, you can do these right now. So if you go to the bottom left hand corner and click duty and then go to timers, or you can press Ctrl+U. So you have two very important things at the very, very top of your screen. First, you've got the Grand Company hand-ins that reset every single day. And under that, you've got custom deliveries that reset every Tuesday morning, at least here in the UK. So first, the Grand Company hand-ins. So you've got two different kind of hand-ins here. You've got one for crafting at the top. Bottom one is for gathering, but there's some key differences here. So if you can see, some of the hand-ins here don't have a star next to their name, and some of them do. So essentially, if you're handing in these materials in a high quality, and please hand them in a high quality, because otherwise you're just wasting a lot of XP. If you hand in, say for example, if I handed in this rack Kaznar saw in a high quality, I would get around about 50% of a level. If there's a star next to its name, I would get legit just a full level. The amount of XP is absolutely insane. So if your playtime is limited, just hyper focus on anything that has a star. Now this star thing is kind of RNG. Sometimes you can get no stars on anything. Sometimes you can get like 6 stars, which is absolutely insane. So it's a little bit RNG, unfortunately, depending on, you know, what Yoshi P wants to give you. But playtime limited, focus on the stars, and then, you know, ideally you're finishing them all up anyway. So they still give you 50% of a level per hand in. Huge amount of bang for your buck there. Now for the gathering ones, the stars, there are no high quality gathering items anymore. So to kind of compensate for that, they just requesting like a bit more than they would normally do. So instead of like 5 high quality of the material, you have to hand in like 20. It's honestly no big deal, and the gathering ones are by far the easiest ones to do. Next, you've got your weekly custom deliveries. So these are like really easy. Each one of these client hand-ins, you can hand in 6 up to a limit of 12. So choose 2 clients that you want to hand into. I usually do Slowy and Cashier because I'm still going for achievements with them. But you can get, there's bonus ones as well. So if you've actually unlocked more clients and got your hearts all the way to the top, you then unlock the chance of getting a bonus on one of these as well. So here for Slowy, the Disciple of the Land, so that's gathering, has a bonus. So you would actually get a bit more XP and purple script from handing the weekly ins to them. If you're level 100, you also then start getting orange script instead of experience. But these are really easy to do. The amount of XP that you get is really good. And purple script, the amount of purple script that you get from doing 2 clients a week will be enough to pay for all of those purple script buffs that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. So very important to do. A really good experience, and highly recommend that you do this. If you want to prioritize on anything for like cost efficiency, I would recommend, if you don't care about the bonus, I would recommend doing Disciples of the Hand. And the 3 toughest ones really in order to level up are generally level working, because level working, you require a lot of bicolor gems, materials that you can only get from Fates or buying materials from the auction house, from the market board. Alright, excuse me. Or you've got Alchemy and Cornerian. Those 2 have always been a pain in the butt to level up, but because they need like generally a lot of different materials, and it can be a little bit time consuming getting all the stuff. So prioritize either level working to save money, or Alchemy and Cornerian just to save time. So those like absolutely mandatory. Every single person doing crafting and gathering should be doing this every day and every week. Now that we've got the mandatory stuff out the way, we are going to be going to talk about, we'll talk about collectibles while we're here in Solution 9. So the script hand in here in Susha 9 is in this Nexus arcade, which is to the west of the main Aetheryte crystal. Now collectibles are pretty interesting. So you've got the two different types of collectibles for gathering and crafting. The gathering one is amazing. You want to do the gathering ones as soon as you are able to, especially if you've got flying unlocked in those zones. So what I'm going to show you is a website, which I'll put on in the link of it in the comments down below, or in the video description. This website is fantastic. It's called ffxiv-gathering.com, and it has timers for all of the nodes already for Dawntrail. Now you can see there's level 100 ones, there's 98, 96, 93. Hyper focus on the ones that are not level 100. If you're below 95, go for prioritize the 93 ones. So that would be the Mountain Flax and the Raw Dark Amber. So these two 93 ones are fantastic. You want to go for these every single time they're up, because the amount of XP, it is just filthy, the amount of XP that you get from these two nodes in particular. And if you don't know how this website works, where it says time, so at the top left hand corner you got the time of the in-game of the server. So right now it's 4:30 p.m. and the next node that's going to be spawning will be at 12 o'clock, so that would be midnight. But also the nodes respawn every 12 in-game hours, so this is both midnight and midday. So you can gather two of these nodes, of all of these nodes here that are listed, twice every in-game day. So the Mountain Flax for the botany, the Raw Dark Amber for the mining, do these every single time. Interrupt your crafting and go do these, because this will just speed up the process a massive amount. Once you start getting into like 95-ish, then start looking at doing things like the sweet Kuro beans, the titanium gold ore, and the 98s. The 98s are a little bit more tricky to do just because you're lower level. Your percentage hit rate to gather the materials will be around about 90 to 95%. So if you're unlucky, like I was, you could hit the thing 3 times even with 95% and not get anything. So it can be a little bit of a pain, but I would still recommend, even at this point, to still pick up those 93s as well. So the 96s and the 93s are like really, really good. Once you start pushing into level 98, you want to start focusing on the 98s and the 96s, and you leave those 93s behind. So do the collectibles. They're really, really nice XP. Also, you get some bonus script as well, which you can hand in for buffs, or you can get start getting your materia ready. So that'd be your materia 11 gathering, ready for the gear that you're going to acquire in the near future. So that is the gathering side of collectibles. The crafting collectibles are... they're okay. They're okay. They're not the best XP, but they also have some cheaper recipes than the leaves. We'll talk about the leaves very shortly and what kind of I would recommend in terms of doing leaves. This isn't the fastest way, but generally it's the cheapest way, because you can avoid picking up items here that have bicolor gems in. So if you don't know what bicolor gems are, so when you complete a fate, you get in Dawntrail, I think it's 16 base for bicolor gems, and you hand those in at different areas in Dawntrail and getting the crafting material from those. I personally have spent probably around about 1,500 bicolor gems in order to get from 90 to 100. But if you don't want to do fates or buy the materials from the auction house, doing collectibles is the only way you can level really 90 to 100 while avoiding that. Essentially, there are a couple of very early leaves where you don't have to buy bicolor gems materials for the crafts, but collectibles is like the main way you can get around that, but it is longer. So if you go to the collectible appraiser here, which you will unlock later on through the MSQ, so if we go to, for example, carpentry, the XP rates here are okay. Once again, you're going to be wanting to be handing them in at high quality. High quality for a hand in for example, a level 99 craft would give you 4 million XP. The equivalent of a leave is over double. So you would get around about 10 million XP for handing in a level 98 leave. So that's the kind of difference, but the materials here required are generally a lot better. So if I go to the recipe tree here, none of these ingredients here are that particularly hard to get, especially if you already have your gatherers up. So the materials here are super easy to get. Like for this recipe here, for example, requires a lot of magnesia powder, which converts into the whetstones, and then you only need like black star and the walnut lumber. So the craft itself is very, like, it's easy and it doesn't require any bicolor gems. It's just that you get a lot less XP from doing this than doing the leaves. So it's up to you in terms of what you want to do here. The plus side of doing collectibles is that you are getting scrip. So you are, if you do manage to get full high quality on this level 99 craft, for example, you're getting just under 200 purple scrip per craft, which is fine. It's fine. And you're going to see this across the board with a lot of the ones. You won't have access to the higher level ones early on. So if you're only like level 91, you're only going to be able to have access, I think, to like the 93, maybe the 95. You won't even be able to hand in the 97 and 99. So make sure you go to the collectible appraiser and just make sure that you are high enough level in order to do the craft that you're handing in. Otherwise you won't actually be able to physically hand in the craft, which means you won't get the XP. But you'll see this across the board. So this is blacksmithing here. Once again, really easy craft here too. Razkaz ore, magnesia powder, Robux. So you can see there's only like really like 2-3 like baseline gathering ingredients here in order to get the collectibles. It's just that the XP is just a little bit on the lower end. So across the entirety of the board of all of these, yeah, you're going to see the same theme there. Now we're going to just go to the leaves. Leaves are something that I did a lot of because I was prepared to do the bicolor gems. Bicolor gems at the start of this expansion, I got 1000 in 1 hour. So it is very mind-numbing, but doing in a fate train, so basically in a group of 8 people, constantly coming in, going into a zone, you can get a lot of bicolor gemstones very easily, and a lot of job class XP. So I was leveling my white mage while doing that. I spent just over 1 hour. I think it was like 1 hour and 10 minutes doing leaves, and I nearly got 3 full levels from 90, level 90, 0% XP. Nearly got 93 on my white mage in 1 hour doing fates. So this is a fantastic way also to level up your alts. But yeah, I got around about 1000, I think it was 1100 bicolor gems doing 1 hour grinding out. And just to show that I did that, if I go into my shared fates here, completed Kuza. So I did 66 fates in Kuza, and then that was it for me. I was just stopped at that point. But you can get a lot done. The main reason why it's so good right now is because the zones are kind of congested, and if you go to an aetheryte crystal, if you right click it, you can change the instance that you're in. And a lot of these starting areas have like up to 6 instances that you can go into. So once all the fates are done in one area, your group will go to an aetheryte crystal, we'll switch to the next one, do more fates, switch to the next one, do more fates, and it's just crazy. So make the most of it at the start of this expansion while you can, in terms of getting the bicolor gems, and even just completing your shared fate rewards. But I'll take you over to Liolal, however you pronounce it. And we'll go over to the leaf person, and I'll show you some of the examples of the leaves that I was doing. But once again, they do require bicolor gems. So from the main aetheryte crystal, go down south. Take the second right. And here we have the leaf mate. Let me choose an example. So for example, yes. So I did this one here, for example. So basically in every 2 levels, you get a new bunch. The level 90 ones generally aren't fantastic in terms of XP. I would recommend start doing these at 92 if possible. If you want to go from, so you can do that through a mix of things. You've got the daily Grand Company hand-ins. Those can potentially give you up to a level if you are lucky with the high quality star. And then I would actually recommend doing some of the Wachumeqimeqi hand-ins if you have the access to those. Otherwise, just make a lot of the 90, like for example in carpentry, like the lumber, and just make a lot of it like high quality, and you'll get a good chunk of XP. Going from 90 to 91 early on actually is pretty quick, and the leaves aren't super duper fantastic in terms of the XP rates there. So for example, if I go into wood cutting, like the ginseng lumber, the sepia lumber, the dark mahogany lumber, if you're able just to like switch through, and because you're going to need a lot of this anyway, I would recommend just going through and just crafting a bunch of high quality stuff off of the lumbers of this, just to prep yourself up for like level 92 onwards, because you will be using a lot of this lumber, not just in the carpentry craft but also the other crafts. So for example in smithing as well, you're going to be wanting to make the mountain chromite ingots, you're going to be wanting to make the ruthenium ingots, the cobalt tungsten ingots as well. So there's plenty of like ingots there for you to craft in order to get a good chunk of XP, because once again you will be using a lot of these ingots through multiple different crafts. So you kind of see where that's going. White gold ingot, when you have that unlocked, is really good. The Lar ingots as well, you can be using a lot of those. This one is really generally easy to craft. The anite is pretty expensive on the market board right now, but you can go gather that in LPS really easily. The materials, you can do quick synthesis as well if you really wanted to, just to churn through, but you will, and the pink barrels as well, you're going to need a bunch of those later on. So there's lots of things in each of these in order to level up. Now level working is going to be the toughest, because you can't quite do that with this, because these require bicolor gems in order to get the silver lobe hides. That is from bicolor gems. The Brax is also from bicolor gems. This was why I recommend when you're doing your weeklies, and if you do the Wachumeqimeqi hand-ins, try and prioritize doing the level working ones, because the bicolor gems from this in particular are pretty expensive. You do have smaller instances that of from clothcraft, from tailoring. The Ronique Surge is also from bicolor gems. I think snow cotton is gatherable, so I think it's safe there. So it's not as bad as level working, but there are a couple of ingredients here. Mountain flax is also gatherable, so it's not too bad. This is also gatherable. So yeah, it's just really level working, and alchemy and culinary, they're a bit of a pain in the butt, and that's when you still might want to use those earlier leaves just to kind of push into the certain thresholds on your journey. But I personally, just as I said, did an hour fate train, got 1,000 bicolor gems. I think overall for using, I used about 50 to 60 leaves across all of my things in order to get them to level 100. And I used about 1,500 bicolor gemstones. But as I said, I got most of those anyway, just doing 1 hour or fate grinding. If you want to do the fate grinding option for bicolor gemstones, on the bottom right hand corner, if you go to party and then go party finder, I'm not playing peak right now, this is quite early in the morning, but if you click on the fates tab at the top here, there are people doing them in each of the zones. So just try and find someone here that's doing them and join up with them, and just get on to those fate trains and just grind them out. But at the moment it's 20 to 10 AM here in the UK, so there's not many people doing them. I think there's people a bit there in living memory, but that's about it really. So that would be my recommendation. if you're able to, just get that fake grinding done for an hour. Get all the bicolor gems that you need. You don't want to be buying them from the market board because you'll be spending like 10,000 gil per craft and it'd be a nightmare. But yeah, the leaves are the fastest way to do it by far, because for example, so if you remember from the level 99 collectible hand-in, the materials were good, but I think the base amount was around about this amount of experience, but this will get doubled when you're handing this in high quality, so you'll get nearly 10 million XP. Is that just 9.2 million XP from handing this in? And then you're also getting gil, and then you're also getting a secondary reward as well. Usually it's crystals, like here you got wind crystals, more crystals. Sometimes you do get other materials as well, like here we're getting ingots back, so that's quite nice. That saves a bit of time. We're getting nuggets back there, ingots or wind crystals. So if you don't really need the scripts or want the scripts, you are getting a decent amount of rewards. So all of these is the double, so you get like 10,000 gil per craft, so you can make a little bit of money on the side handing in the leaves in too. But yeah, that was basically my process. I think basically when I got kind of sick of using bicolor gemstones, that I went into the later stages of collectibles, like around about 95 to 100 on a few of the crafts, the more annoying ones. I did go into the collectibles. One tip I will say for like culinary, I really enjoyed doing, what leave was it? Is it simple as hardest? Yeah, simple as hardest was surprisingly really good XP. I think this one gave me 4 million per high quality hand-in craft, and it's called Spaghetti al olio e peppercino. Sorry, I can't speak those letters. But the materials for this is really good for culinary, and made culinary a lot more easier to do. If we look at the recipe tree, I know it looks a little bit daunting at first. Dragon pepper is from a really low area zone. Do not buy these from the auction house. These you can easily get 100 in a couple of minutes here because it's super low level. The corn, 6 of that turns into get the craft on that. Yeah, so 6 of those corns turns into 3 of those oils. So you don't have to spend a huge amount of time getting the corn in there to turn it into the oil. I think it's the same for this oil here too. Yeah, 3 oil again, and you only need 1. So you can get, even though this recipe looks at first pretty daunting, it's the same with the wheat as well, isn't it? Yeah, you get 3 wheat flour per, so you have to get the base materials here. So the corn, pepper, oyo, whatever that's called, the water, and the wheat. So there's 5 different bases there, but the wheat, the frant, and the corn turn into 3 of the following products. So you're basically getting like near triple the crafts per base hand-in, and then you're getting a bit of culinary XP as well when you're doing like the corn and stuff. It gives an okay amount of XP per, so it's a really good recipe. And also the money's not that bad either, 10k gil per hand-in of high quality. So I highly recommend this one in culinary. This one was my favorite leaf to do out of all of them, just because of how many crafts you can do pretty quickly once you got the base materials in. And I think I did this one from 94 all the way up to like 98 or something. I don't think maybe I did it all the way up to 100, because I don't think I did these. I didn't do these other leaves as well, because this one was just the simple as hardest one, was just the easiest. The alchemy ones, a bit more frustrating to do. I did do the book of Raz Kanir for level 98 onwards. I did the codex here. Basically I just looked at which one would give me the most amount of XP. I just went for it, because right now the materials at the start of Dawntrail are kind of a little bit annoying to get anyway, so I just kind of went for it. So this one gave like 8 million XP high quality, so you can obviously just fish around here, but I would just recommend just choosing which one of the 2 gives the most amount of XP. Like here, this one, this tailoring one gives over 10 million XP high quality for this one, so that's why I chose to do it. Whereas the other one is like 2/3 of the amount, and the materials are like, just for a slight more annoyance, you can get an extra third of XP, which adds up when you're only having to do like 3 or 4 hand-ins just to get from 98 to 100. So yeah, because yeah, it takes about 3 to 4 hand-ins at 98, for example, to get to 100. It's like usually about 3.5, because it's like you craft the materials to get by the time you crafted all the materials to get 3 of, for example, the Thunderyard Silk Coat of casting, you've then handing these in, and then you're basically like a sliver away from 100. So then you can just quick synthesize some bolts or whatever in order to push yourself over that line. But that is how I essentially hit 100. It's not really super difficult. It's just doing it is probably the biggest bottleneck, especially the Bicolor gems, because they're really, really expensive on the auction house, and you don't want to buy them. So yeah, if you do have any questions about that, do let me know in the comments down below. I will be making a video about getting Materia 11 and 12. So that will be pretty handy when you're prepping into getting into better gear. Oh, one other thing also I probably should mention, as I was getting to 100, I was already making my started making my gear at 100. So even though I wasn't, for example, level 100 in levelworking, I made like my level 100 gathering helm and my level 100 crafting helm, just so that I could A, get the XP for it, and B, just have it ready for when I hit 100. So those are other little things you can do to get XP, and also prepping yourself for level 100 as well for that point too. So yeah. Alright, all the best guys. I hope this video kind of puts you in the right direction. Don't forget to do your Wachumeqimeqi stuff as well, which is over here on the far east as well. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else I need to add. Be sure to follow for more guides, more crafting guides. I'll be going through the materia stuff, and yeah, bye.